Welcome to District 61's online training program. Today we'll be looking at how to craft a sensational speech around a simple structure. This presentation takes about 15 minutes, so grab a coffee, sit back and relax and enjoy. Now, I love talking about this topic because I think it makes a huge difference to anyone building their public speaking skills. Of all of the educational presentations out there, this is the one that made the biggest difference to me. It taught me that the easier it is to create a speech, the easier it was to remember and to play around with and to enjoy the learning and the speaking techniques. This speech creation approach will help you spend more time discovering and exploring your talents and less time stressing over the writing part. In Toastmasters, there's oddly not a lot of emphasis on effective speech creation techniques. We see what to do, but not necessarily how to do it for an optimal outcome. The purpose of this presentation is, first, to help make the process of creating a speech be less of a struggle and more of an enriching experience. You can take a lot of stress out of delivering a speech if you take the stress out of writing it. And second, to clarify the basic skills needed to write a memorable speech, and also to simplify the process of creating an effective speech or presentation. So these are the 5 essentials that we need to look at. First is coming up with the idea, tapping into your deep interests and passions for speech ideas. Second is clarifying the speech's big idea before you start writing. Third, understanding the power of a simple, logical structure for your speech. And next, spending dedicated, quality time thinking about your speech and ideas. And finally, writing the speech in an optimal order. And just so you know, it isn't in the same order that you deliver the speech in, but I'll show you that in a moment. First, the idea phase. A lot of people struggle to even come up with a speech idea. Possibly they don't understand yet the power of using personal or local stories to support a speech concept. The more you write, the more you'll realize how powerful these simple topics can be. And one helpful tip is to think about and discuss with others what interests and inspires you. There are always a lot of speech possibilities there. One aspect of Toastmasters that I deeply enjoy is being introspective about my life experiences and passions and creating speeches centered around those topics. This is a picture of my grandmother, who was quite an extraordinary woman, and I probably have written 3 or 4 speeches about her. And it was a real joy to go back into those memories and thoughts and craft speeches around them. As I mentioned, you'll be surprised at what impacts people. Simple stories around family and everyday experiences can really connect with an audience. Also, I recommend you start by speaking about what inspires you the most, positive aspects of your life, what you get passionate about. This helps with becoming more animated and genuine and expressive in your delivery. One of my passions is art, so I enjoy doing the research and I love to share what I've learned. If you struggle with ideas, keep it simple, like a table topics question. Who is my favorite person and why? And how do they inspire me? Where was my favorite trip? And what did I like most about it? What did I do there? What did I see? What did I smell and experience? Or what do I enjoy doing the most and why? And write around those thoughts. And this will open the idea floodgates, I promise. One of my favorite all-time speeches was about a garden told by a passionate gardener. She went through the seasons and described the sensory experiences and joy of it all. Everyday life topics can be very powerful and impactful. The next essential is to clarify your idea before you start writing. Many new members to Toastmasters just dive into a speech topic without clarifying the actual idea of it first. And the writing gets frustrating as it goes in different directions without a clear aim. In my experience, this is probably the biggest waste of time and energy as you try to write. I recommend that you get away from the computer to somewhere that you think, well, Turn off your devices, avoid distractions, and just think on your topic. You could do this in a quiet room, or maybe you experience it while you're walking or even on a long drive. It's wherever works best for you. Now, oddly enough for me, my favorite place and time is early in the morning before anyone is up washing dishes. I don't know why, but there's a certain zen to it that helps me to think. So it doesn't really matter where it is for you. Just find the place or places that are the most effective for you and your thinking. The goal is to spend some uninterrupted, quality time with your ideas. And while you're thinking, spend time clarifying your big speech idea. Define what you really want the audience to take out of the room and brainstorm some interesting supporting stories and points around that. A great technique for doing this is to practice writing simple outlines only. They look kind of like this. You have a clearly defined main idea, a clear audience takeaway, and a few priority supporting points, and that's it. And you can write these outlines quite quickly, and they'll help you to envision a complete speech outline without writing any of the time-consuming descriptive details. Practice this and become good at it, and it will save you a lot of time once you get into the writing. This practice also beautifully supports keeping the structure simple, focused, and logical, which is our third essential. Here's an example of it in action using a world championship speech. Anajaya Hediarachi is one of my favorite speakers. The speech that he won the world championships with basically breaks down to this. The big idea is discover what makes you special. The audience takeaway is to always look for your own and others' potential, which he expresses a few times with the line, "I see something in you." And the key supporting points are 4 brief stories that he told to exemplify the power of the theme. And that's what a simple outline looks like. And this is a great example showing that the best speakers in the world use simple, easy to follow, logical outlines. And as you get good at creating speech outlines, it can actually become a lot of fun. You're basically creating full speech idea flows without going into any of those time-consuming details. Now, this is important for 2 reasons. First, you can create full speech concepts without taking a lot of time. And second, you can play around with this speech outline without getting into the writing yet. My favorite practice is to write speech outlines well in advance of when I'm speaking and to rework them until I'm happy with them. Then I start writing in the supporting stories and details later on. Most importantly, it is this step that will help you to move away from your speaking notes. You will, with practice, be better able to visualize the simple flow of ideas for any speech. Once you settle on a simple outline that you feel works well, then stop writing and just let the ideas sit in your mind for a while. We can't always do this, especially if time is short, but if you leave yourself enough time, this is quite an interesting phase as you let the ideas just bounce around and evolve in your mind. You get to evolve your thoughts and ideas and possibilities. Give yourself a couple of days to just percolate on your speech idea outline only. Typically what happens for me is I'll be driving or at work or maybe just washing dishes, and the speech outline will pop into my mind, and I'll think of all kinds of different ways to tell those stories or the supporting details, or maybe even have a new idea or two, or maybe even think of the optimal order that I want to tell those stories in. And now you're ready to write. The last essential to effective speech writing, and a vital one, is to not write the speech from beginning to end. Typically, people write in the order that they deliver the speech. So they'll sit down at their computer and they'll just start typing the introduction first, then the body of the speech, and then the conclusion. This is not an effective way to write. Typically what happens is you end up trying to spend all your time writing the body of the speech around that introduction that you wrote. So for this stage, you need to learn two things. The first is what a standard speech structure looks like, and the second is to learn to write the middle first and then the introduction and conclusion last. So here's an example of a standard speech structure, and this comes from the old Toastmasters manual. It shows the speech structure simply as opening, body, body point 1, body point 2, body point 3, and conclusion. And as you dive into the Pathways program in Toastmasters, you'll see that the worksheets are actually structured in the exact same way. So it doesn't matter how you come up with the worksheet, or you can come up with your own, but follow this structure. Here, I'll give you a tour of a Pathways one. There you go. There's an opening, body, body point 1, body point 2, body point 3, and conclusion. To write the speech in full, now take that simple outline that you've already prepared and plug it into that worksheet, whichever worksheet that you're using. Here's one that I like, and if you want, you can follow the same format. So start by writing in the big idea and the audience takeaway. Make sure that you're crystal clear here before you start writing any other points. Next, from your simple outline, determine which stories or aspects of a story or supporting points that you want to write into the speech and best express your main idea. If you came up with 4, 5, 6 of them, choose the strongest 2 or 3, as a 5 to 7 minute speech is not a long time. Then determine which order is most effective for you to deliver those supporting points in. Next, write the stories and description details around those 3 supporting points. Remember that they must always support that main idea that you wrote at the beginning. And now, write the introduction with a powerful hook to the main message. Typically, it's a personal story or a powerful story that sets up the main message. And after that, write the conclusion, creating a memorable takeaway and summing up your key message. It's so much easier and a lot more effective to write the introduction and conclusion after the body of the speech is resolved. The introduction and conclusion will support the message and the body of the speech effectively now, and you won't waste time trying to make the body of the speech fit the introduction. Write the conclusion right after writing the introduction will also help you to make sure that they relate very strongly to each other, which is another mark of a great speech. And finally, write the title. Use it to tantalize the audience as you're walking up to the podium. So I know that's a lot of information, so here's a quick recap of that process. First, clarify the big idea and takeaway, which you have from your simple outline process. Then write the supporting points, again, from your simple outline. Next, add the rich details and stories that support those body points and the big idea, followed by the introduction and conclusion, since now you know what you're actually introducing and concluding. And then finally, write the title last. The secret to effective writing has a lot to do with that order that you write in, and this will save you a lot of time and minimize your frustration and help you get a rich experience out of that writing process. So to sum up, keep a list of speech ideas as they come up. Take the time to think about topics you'll find interesting and positive to write about. Next, get away from the distractions to write. Spend quality time with your ideas. Get really good at creating simple outlines around your ideas. Keep working that outline until you find it interesting and effective and motivating to you. And get really good at this step. It'll save you a lot of time and make the process much more enjoyable. Don't start writing details and descriptions until the idea and the simple structure are clear and flowing the way you want. And finally, learn to write in an optimal order. Clear idea and takeaway, then body, then introduction and conclusion, and finally the title. Good luck and have fun. Challenge yourself to dive into your speech creation using these techniques. Strive to get a little better with each speech, and you'll be amazed at the challenges you can create over time. Best of luck.